Alright, we're going to get started tearing our guitar down. You're not going to need a whole lot of expensive tools to do this with. I got a Phillips screwdriver, small pair of wire cutters, some needle nose pliers. That'll get us started. This guitar is already strung up and everything, so first thing I'm going to do is start by letting some tension off of the string. Cut your strings off. Of course, you've all changed guitar strings. So. Flip it over and feed these through the bottom. Alright, now what I like to do next is go ahead and get the neck off and get it out of the way. That way, when we're removing the rest of the hardware from the body, it makes it a lot easier to put your hardware in so that you do not lose it. That's to keep everything together where you know where it's at. And also, on this guitar, since I'm going to be doing some relicing on it, these little plastic cups will come in handy. Some of the hardware on this guitar has already started to age naturally, so it's not like I'm taking a brand new guitar and doing this to it. This thing's been played and it's been around for a while. So. Another thing, like I said, these peavey guitars, for the money, these USA models are great guitars. If you'll notice this little hole in the backing plate for this neck, this thing has the tilt adjustment on the neck. You have to get, in a lot of brands of guitars, you have to get up into a pretty expensive model before you can get an option like that. So these things, like I say, for the money, you can't beat these. The neck here. Put it to the side for right now. Okay. While we've got it flipped over backwards, go ahead and take these springs for your tremolo. Take these off. People have different ways of doing it. Pry them off with a screwdriver or whatever. I like to use a pair of needle nose pliers. That way I've got the spring in my hand, because these things do have some tension on them. Pry it off with a screwdriver and it can go flying across the room. At least this way you've got control over it and you've got the spring. Most guitars either have a 2-point pivot bridge, or the fenders have 6 screws in them. This one only has 4, being a peavey, but that's just a detail that most people are not going to notice unless you really know a lot about guitars. And I'm not trying to make this thing into some kind of Fender custom shop, fool somebody and try to rip them off by selling it to them thing. This is a guitar that I'm doing for myself, making it look the way I want to look. So, alright, got those screws out. Go ahead and take your bridge completely out. Next thing we're going to do is take the pickguard assembly off. When you take the pickguard assembly off, I like to keep the electronics and everything on there. When it comes out, it'll come out as an assembly. So just, if you'll notice, get a good close-up of this. You just want to take out the screws around the edge of the pickguard. These adjustment screws for the pickups and this for the switch, just leave that on there for the time being. So we can go ahead, get this off. Now, these screws are kind of tiny. You may have to have a smaller screwdriver for that. I've got a set of these little electronics screwdrivers that have real small points on them. They're great for working on things like this. But there again, use whatever you got. You don't have to get into a bunch of major expense. I just so happen to already have these tools because I use them for other things. And I can see already by the number of screws that I'm taking out of here, the new pick guard that I got is going to have more screws, which is no big deal. I've got some screws and extra hardware from other projects, but just to let you know, when you're swapping this stuff out like this, especially when you're working with parts from different vendors, you know, everything might not fit 100% correctly. You may have to do a little bit of modification, but that's no big deal. I mean, we're talking about a plastic pick guard. It's not like this stuff can't be modified. All right, lift out your pick guard assembly, and you're going to have 3 wires running off of here. You're going to have 2 wires that run over here to your input jack where you plug your cord in. You're going to have 1 wire, which is a ground, running through to the back for the spring claw. Let's go ahead and flip this thing over. Here is the wire, the ground to your spring claw. Go ahead and just clip that off out of the way. Now, let's go ahead . Pull this out. Here's your 2 wires for your input jack. Now, another word of advice, if you're not used to doing this, if this is your first guitar, I may be going a little bit fast on some of this, but if this is your first guitar and you're not sure when you go to put it back together how everything is going to go, you have 2 wires on this input jack. These wires are color coded, black and white. If you don't know or don't have a wiring diagram to show you how they go, whenever you cut these wires off, leave just enough of the wire where you can see how they're going to go back on there. See, I left just enough of the insulation to show you here's the white wire and here's the black wire. That way when you put it back on, there's no confusion. I've done enough of these that I know how they go back together, but like I stated when I first started this video, I've had some questions about this stuff, so hopefully this will help you a little bit if you've never done one. Alright, go ahead and get your pick guard assembly, pull your wires through, and there is your pick guard assembly. These are your pots, and what a pot is short for potentiometer. It's basically your volume and your tone controls. Now these screws that hold the spring claw in, how far they're screwed down into the body has a lot to do with how much tension are on the springs for your tremolo. There again, I say, if you've never done one of these before, you might want to take some type of, you can either measure it with a tape measure or mark the screw or something to show you where the screws are before you take it apart if your guitar is already set up and plays good the way it is. If not, when you go to put this thing back together, you're going to have to set the guitar up. Got our guitar stripped down, and when we come back, let me do a little sanding on the body, show you a little bit about how to relic out the hardware.